Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Taha. I am the founder of Child Awareness Project, which is a youth-led nonprofit based in India that advocates for youth action and empowering young people to take positive action in their communities surrounding children's rights. And apart from that, I am also a recently trained physician and currently studying a master's in public health at Harvard.
So I'm actually currently the president of the Reconciliation and Development Association. Before I was the president of this association, I was the program manager for non-communicable disease prevention and control for the past 4 years in the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services. And so my movement to this vision, founding this vision, was based on my aspirations to increase my concentration on other development interests. And so that's why you find the mission and the vision of the organization to be driving sustainable solutions to community development. And so this is my full-time job now, and it is really amazing to be working in that purpose. And so the topic of today, I'll just dive into the topic of today, which is resiliency and self-care. And I'll start this session. I invite you to join me on this particular quote that says, "Don't expect a time in your life when you will be free from change and free from struggle. To be resilient, you must understand that your objective is not to come to rest, because there is no rest. The objective is to use what hits you and charge your trajectory in a positive direction." This is by Eric Greitens and from the book Resiliency. And the reason I like this quote is because the quote actually solves a puzzle that is often always in people's minds about when they're going to come to rest from all they're going through. And when I learned about it helped me to realize that I have to think differently as far as the struggles that we go through in life are concerned. So I imagine this period of COVID, I imagine all what many people are probably going through. And I imagine that if you can use those as the stones to build, that will be great. So I hope that at the end of this session, you will be motivated enough to look at what resiliency for you, what resiliency means for you, and how you can develop a personal resiliency plan. This is very important, even beyond COVID. So when we talk about the first aspect, which is the body, what you should be thinking about in creating a practical resiliency plan is to ask yourself what strategies or technique you can use if you feel the stress and pain on your body. Once you know about that before you feel the stress, that's better for you. The second dimension is the emotions. It's amazing how we can do everything to stop physical bleeding, but sometimes allow emotional bleeding. And so how you feel is important. You need to always look at how you handle difficult emotions. What are the ways that you could handle them more constructively? For example, when you feel sad or you feel pain or you feel isolated, it's important to know exactly what to do. For example, can you contact your community for support during hard times or lonely times? Remember that in each dimension of resiliency, we're guiding you towards creating your personal resiliency plan. And so these are the kinds of questions you need to ask yourself when creating one. The third dimension is your mindset. It's very important to realize that the mind is basically what takes us across life. when the mind is not strong, when the mind is not intentional and focused, one can get into several problems. So it's all about, it starts with all the things we believe and the things we tell ourselves. And it's about transforming what we say from negative to positive or optimistic things. For example, if you find yourself in a situation where you don't know anybody, you could rather think about how you can meet new people. It's about setting the mind. The mind is like the steering of a car, and you can't go anywhere without that. If you're moving from one place to another, you need that steering if you want to arrive. That's how important the mind is, and it's about setting it. That's why it's called mindset. And it's all about moving from any negative to positive or optimistic, opportunistic mindset. So, well, let's talk about security, which is the next dimension. You can feel resilient depending on how secure or insecure you feel. If you feel insecure, for example, if you are in a place where there is conflict, or whatever might cause you to feel insecure, that plays a lot on your capacity, on your ability to survive. So you need to think about what strategies and techniques you can use if you feel that you don't know all you need to know about your environment and to feel secure. When you are not secure, you have several kinds of emotions. You may feel frustrated, you may feel helpless, anxious, restless, lonely, hurt, sad, afraid, etc. But if you feel secure, you feel very, very energetic, you feel thankful, you're proud, you're happy, you're contented, you're relaxed. That's the big difference. And so your level of security directly affects how resilient you are when you go through situations. So what you need to do around security when planning your resiliency strategy is do some research, increase your knowledge. Knowledge is power. You know, find out about your surroundings. Look, think about maybe even changing where you reside. These are some practical steps that can help you to plan on how you can be resilient through considering your level of security. So when you're insecure, this is exactly the difference. You feel valued, you feel included, but insecure, you feel unsafe, you feel useless, and maybe any other insecure feelings. This is exactly the situation with a child. The child may be weak, sensitive, innocent, needy, helpless, and this is what happens when someone may feel insecure. And that's why the child often has the parents and the brothers and the sisters taking care of them. So you need to be thinking about your relationships as well. That's the next dimension of resiliency. Relationships are so important, and this is something many people don't know. I remember when I was in the university, I didn't have a lot. I was quite poor, and then I was hungry, and then I had someone knock at my door one day and put his hand on my pocket and gave me 2,000 francs. And I was so exhilarated and surprised at the same time, because there was no way I was going to have that kind of support if that person never came to my house. And he told me, well, he just took his first salary and thought about students and said, well, he wants to give me something. And that's how I was able to eat that day. This story shows the importance of people. So many times we try to go through a lot of things by ourselves and not realize the wealth that we have in others around us, our family, our friends, our teachers, our other brothers, etc. So when you're building your resiliency plan, be intentional about thinking about people around you. Who are those around you? Who are the people you can request assistance from? Make a list of those people and think about how you can, encourage yourself to reach out to those people. Think about who is encouraging you within your hard time, within your stressful time. And don't only think about who encourages you, think about who you're encouraging, because someone somewhere may also need your encouragement. So your community might need your encouragement. And this is important for leaders. If you are a leader, people look up to you. People want you to be able to provide vision and direction within a time, a period of restlessness, a period where people are seeking for direction and vision. Vision gives hope. And so as a leader, you need to look at how you are able to contribute as a valuable member of the community in which you belong. So while relationships help you, you should be part of those relationships that also help others. So there are several initiatives people have taken that help. So think about your youth group, think about your men's, women's groups, organizations. Organizations are passing through a lot, and so you can think about all of these communities and how relationships within these communities can strengthen your ability to survive. There is some other thing that makes us survive in an incredible way, and that's the sixth dimension, and that's purpose and meaning. I listened to a clinical psychologist who actually said it is more important to identify your purpose and meaning than to seek to be happy. You can actually, when you focus on discovering your meaning, your purpose and living a meaningful life to the highest degree that you can, you find out that happiness comes forth. Because when you do what you love, and when you know exactly that you have a purpose, and you remind yourself of that purpose, and you remind yourself of the reasons why you should keep living. Someone says, if you don't have anything to live for, or if you don't have anything to die for, you have nothing to live for. So think about your life goals. Think about your achievements, what you want to achieve. Think about your legacy. Think about all of that and be strong. So purpose and meaning has a way of making you resilient. You can skip through mountains if you are able to remember and move with your purpose and your destiny and your mission, or with meaning in your life. So I encourage you to take time as you're building your resiliency plan to include what is your purpose, your mission. Do it in such a way that you can be sure you are living your full life, and producing the highest net value you can release to the world, and that makes you not only a better person, but it makes you someone who is contributing positively. And that can make you strong. That can give you a reason to live. So what we have seen is the 6 dimensions of resiliency. And the purpose of providing you these 6 dimensions is so that you can take time and create for yourself some intentional steps you can take to identify when you're moving into a situation that can break you down. And so there's a template we're going to provide to you. I'm sure Rai is going to assist with that. That can help you build your personal resiliency plan. It's amazing how it can help you when you arrive a junction or a moment in your life where you actually need to use that plan. In fact, you can actually design your plan in such a way that you have some of that information around you in one way or the other, either in form of quotes or in form of something around you that makes you remember what to do when you feel a certain emotion, when you feel a certain tension, when you have a certain feeling or you experience a certain tragedy. This can be incredibly helpful at the point when you are facing that situation. And I would like to say that it is also helpful even beyond COVID-19. it's not just within this period that you need a resiliency plan. Even beyond this period. In fact, before COVID came, we already had issues. So that's all about the presentation of today.
Thank you, Ferdy, for sharing the 6 dimensions of resiliency. It was very holistic, and just taking it from there, in your opinion, personally for yourself, what do you find the hardest dimension to struggle through or to get through?
Personally, I think that the dimension of emotions has been the highest, the most difficult for me, because we have so many things that bombard us, and the first thing that it attacks is our emotions, and we have not really had the opportunity to be taught so much about how to handle the issues around our emotions, like you have in the emotional slide, that we can do everything to stop physical bleeding. Let's say if you had a wound, but sometimes it's very difficult to know exactly the first aid that we should give to emotional bleeding. And I call it emotional bleeding because this is what drives people crazy. This is what makes people really do things they shouldn't, like things they regret afterwards. And that's happened to me. So, and the solution has been trying to practice emotional intelligence as well as social intelligence. These are 2 concepts that are very important for leaders to learn. And they're by no means easy, but the good thing is that there is a lot of information out there about these strategies that one can have access to and learn these skills. So, but emotionally, it's been very tough. So you have, for example, situations at work or situations with friends where there is every evidence that you became emotional in dealing with a particular situation. So I think emotions has been one of the most difficult for me.
Thank you for sharing, Ferdy. I really related to your plan about coming up with a resiliency plan. I find that very interesting because drawing from that, I think it's founders such as ourselves can take that forward a bit more and come up with an agenda for themselves, like a schedule in a way. For instance, saying that I am going to spend 1 hour a day doing something that is equal to self-care, and if there's anything that comes into that time, that seeps into that time, I will say no. Because I think a lot of young founders who are attending this panel will be able to relate to this, that the fact that they're founders itself means that they're achieving things, they are putting themselves through a lot in order to attain a certain goal. So creating that agenda beforehand and saying that, knowing when to say no might be an effective goal or an effective way to ensure that you take out time for self-care, that you are taking care of yourselves. Because like you said, Freddie, you can only take care of others if you care for yourself.
The other point that I thought was really interesting as well, just through the presentation, was the point that was made about community and how it's not just about looking for how people can help you, even though accepting that help is really, really useful, but it's also understanding how you can help others and looking for that. I don't know, Taha, particularly through COVID and the kind of the experiences that everyone's been going through the last couple of weeks, whether you've had any personal experiences with people that you've noticed required a little bit of help and you've been able to help them, or vice versa, you've asked for help and been able to get through something that's been particularly tough over the last couple of weeks.
Thank you, Ray, for bringing that up. I think COVID in general has been extremely stressful across the board for everyone, including founders, but coming from the physician, medical, and public health community, I think this has shed a lot of light on burnout per se and the importance of mental health, because so far the importance has unfortunately been only towards physical health, with this tendency to just ignore mental health and say that, well, you can get over it. But I think right now there has been emphasis on either helplines or text chats and like reaching out to people, and especially in the era of physical distancing, I refuse to call it social distancing because you can still remain socially connected. There's been increased awareness about reaching out to people, dropping an email, calling them, just reaching out and checking in with folks, because you really don't know how everyone is coping with this, and having that support system and having the community, even if it's a virtual community, even if it's a community that's at a physical distance, having that sense of support is especially important in these difficult times.
We've actually just had a question come through as well. So we're just saying that the points that have been raised have been really great. So those 6 dimensions of resiliency have been really helpful, but practicing them is a really good kind of training, I guess, for the self. So those plans that you were just talking about, Taha, and making sure that that space is getting put into your daily life. But how or when, and it might be that we're not fully qualified to say this, but at what point would you say that it's good to reach out for professional help? Is there a moment when you can recognize in yourself that you need a little bit more of outside support?
Thank you for the question. And I think the main issue that we face as a community is the stigma associated with seeking professional help. I would again equate that using an analogy of physical health. If you're feeling unwell, everyone has a different threshold for going to the doctor and saying that, hey, I have this thing, like I have this ache here and I just want to get it checked out. And the same goes for mental health. For seeking professional help isn't always limited to a very severe form of when you are completely unable to cope and you actually really need to go in and get it checked, but it can even be in earlier stages when you feel that, you know what, I think I need extra support. I need someone to help me get through this. And I think that is just knowing that as you would go and see a general physician or a family doctor or any other physician or professional, just knowing that it's the same for mental health. Like, it is okay to go early on and just check it out.
Yeah, just in addition to that, I'd like to say sometimes we have to actually differentiate between areas where we need to improve versus areas that we really need to seek help on. And you know, there is something. I'll take an example like making up your bed. If you're making up your bed, it's quite good for you. But if you're not making up your bed, you definitely have to learn to make up your bed. So the process of making sure that you're able to make up your bed, for instance, is somewhat very difficult for so many people, but it's about practice. So I'm speaking to the fact that you can have very serious situations in life, circumstances in life, and sometimes we need to seek to be persistent. We need to seek to be strong. We need to seek to be resilient. You know, but just like you have with seeking a medical doctor, like Taha said, you need to. There is a point by which you can at least detect, and at worst, if you keep good relationships, it's possible to have others assist you if you need help. So in terms of resiliency, this brings us back to the importance of relationships. It brings us back to the importance of being self-aware and then also making personal plans that give regard to what can take care of you in terms of maybe you getting burnout or things like that. So on this note, I'd like to ask Taha a question around her experience with as a medical doctor and as a leader and as a practitioner. Like personally, what have you been able to do? I know medical doctors are very busy people. Even medical students are so busy, so stressed out with all the anatomy and physiology books. So how have you been able to monitor your stressors, and what experience can you share on how people can closely monitor and take care of themselves?
Thank you, Freddie, for that question. And it's true. Unfortunately, the medical profession, I mean, a lot of professions are stressful. Medical professions, like a lot of professions, are also stressful. And this is something that we see early on, even during early stages of training, where there is some talk about, resiliency, similar to Freddie, what you've been saying, that there is a talk about how you need to build that, how you need to ensure that you have an outlet, you have a support system around you. And all of these things are sometimes difficult to put into practice. I think, again, especially so during COVID, and that also stems from this uncertainty about this entire situation. So you do see people in the medical community unsure about how to proceed, knowing that there's this undue amount of stress. And something that we learned during medical school are like techniques to help you overcome that stress, or to at least cope through that stress, such as practicing mindfulness, ensuring that you take time out, ensuring that you have someone to talk to, and knowing that it's okay to reaching out to your superiors, or reaching out to colleagues, telling that, this is something that I'm going through. I'm not sure how to cope with this. Is this, or I need to take some time off for my own mental health, and knowing that that's okay to say. And the truth is, there is some stigma around it, but the way we can overcome that stigma is if more people start coming out and saying that this is, what, we're humans, this is a very normal feeling to have, and acknowledging that and saying that it's okay to need a personal day. It is okay to take some time off for self-care. It is okay to take a break to de-stress.
Okay, like I would say it's okay to watch a movie. It's okay to take some time out for tennis, for a music concert, and things like that, while still remaining productive. They're
Exactly.
incredibly helpful. So,
And in fact, it helps being productive, because if you have a chance to de-stress, it in fact makes you more productive down the line, because in a way you have a fresh mind. And of course, sleep is a very important thing that goes into that. If you are well rested, again, you are more productive, you perform better. So we know that this is a thing that exists. So making sure that you take time out to de-stress, whether it's doing something that you enjoy, like watching a movie, playing some music, painting, whatever it is that you enjoy, taking time off is essential in order to ensure that you are productive. So it's actually, there shouldn't be a stigma surrounding taking time off. You shouldn't feel guilty for taking time off, because at the end of the day, it's going to benefit you, your work, and whoever your work is benefiting.
okay, there's a question here from someone, but before I answer that question, I'd like to just make a point about the fear of the future. The uncertainty of the future can cause that insecurity and can cause that fear. But the solution to the uncertainties we have about the future, for example, right now, so many people don't know if there's going to be a COVID vaccine, if there's going to be a drug, if there is, and the whole situation is very frightful. And that creates the insecurity and the fear of the future. Nobody knows what the future holds, and everybody might be feeling so scared about what the future is. And this can really knock people's minds out. So I think one of the important reasons for having a resiliency plan is that you find yourself going through things like the fear of the future so easily. Your mind can quickly stick to a particular portion of your resiliency plan and reminds you of the fact that, yes, this particular thing I'm feeling or I'm going through, I have an opportunity, I have an opening to fix it if I think this way, or if I act this way, or if I listen this way or that way. So that goes to still encourage participants to look at how you can make sure that you do something for yourself. Do something practical for yourself. Write it down. There was a study from Harvard that said 3% of the people write their plans down. And interestingly, this study from Harvard showed that, in fact, the survey was done, and only 3% of the business administration or management students had plans for the future. And 15 years later, it was the 3%. These 3% were earning more than the 97% that had no plans combined. That 97% had those who had plans but didn't write the plans down. So the encouragement is, even on something so critical as your personal resiliency plan, you should take some time to write it down, reflect on it, on the different dimensions where you can be fallen, and then you write out what you can do differently if you have the situation around you. And it will be amazing how that can help you in times of stress. And so going to the question about mental health and how we plan to address it, we are currently planning a webinar on mental health stressors for Cameroon youths, and that will be around, I think, the 29th of May. That's just one of the ways we're planning to handle mental health. But mental health is really a very serious issue in Cameroon as well, especially currently where we have a conflict, a crisis. And so our organization has an initiative called the National Youth NCD Action Network. And so we're working on mental health as part of our initiatives on NCDs. And so I think I can share more about that. If the participant gets to me personally, I can share more about how we plan to tackle mental health.